In today's video, we are gonna check out one of those Crowder's classics. I want to start reacting to those. They've been on my playlist for a little while, so I think it's about time. I must say, I actually miss Louder with Crowder show. I know ever since little back and forth went between them and, well, it's not little, it was big. Between them and the Daily Wire, I haven't heard much of the Crowder show, which I knew their contract ended with The Blaze. So highly likely Crowder is doing something different, and I wish him the very best. But I would like to take a listen to this because there's a lot of wisdom in this discussion here. So let's take a listen to this one. Brainless pro-choicer claims right to murder. Is it okay to murder a child? When is it okay exactly? Let's take a listen to this.
First of all,
what's your name?
Aaron. Hi.
Nice to meet you, Aaron. Steven.
Nice to meet you.
So, pretty simple today. I'm pro-life across the board, obviously, with the.
That's a great opinion.
Okay, okay. Well, I see you're hostile right there. You just said I'm going to take you on, and you seem a little upset. What is it about my position that you?
It's bizarre that, because you're talking about the legality of it. It's not just your opinion on it, right?
No, I'm talking about the morality of it.
Okay. Well, it's my own body. Mm-hmm. I'm a woman. If I don't want to give birth, abortion to me is just like forced miscarriage.
Mm-hmm. To you?
Yeah.
So that's a great opinion.
But I'm trying to convince you.
Right. That is an opinion. What if it's not your body?
If it's not my body, it's not my business.
Okay. So if that baby inside your womb is not your body, if it's an autonomous human being, mm-hmm. then you don't have the right to kill it.
Why?
You don't have the right to kill anyone else.
Fetus is not conscious.
Oh man, hey, we can drop the mic because the conversation ended right there. Because the same argument that she brought up, and I love what he does here, he uses their own perspective against them.
Okay.
It's not, especially since legally, you can't abort up to 9 months. It's in the first trimester.
No, you can. Yeah, you can.
Legally?
Yeah.
Well, that's stupid.
Well, I'm glad we find some common ground there.
Yeah.
You disagree with Andrew before you.
Well, I mean, up to 9 months, that baby's about to pop. I think it would be fine if that baby, was, about to die in the first few minutes.
Okay.
There's no point anyways. Mm-hmm. So.
But this is something that happens a lot. People bring up an extreme example like rape, incest, or the baby's about to die to make a point. Sounds to me like you support abortion regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not even, that doesn't matter so much. I guess what it comes down to is, what do you define as personhood? You said it's my body, my choice. Yeah. But if there's a baby inside of you that is in fact not your body, then it's not your choice.
My body.
Okay, how so?
Yeah, because it's my blood. Like, that child is half my blood.
So if someone gets a blood, if you give a blood transfusion to someone else, do you now own their body?
It's DNA, man.
It's actually
genetics.
Not. Yeah. Do you know when new genetic DNA is formed, a whole new genetic code?
So you're saying I could give blood to you and you'd be my son?
No. What I'm saying is that at the moment of conception, there's entire.
She totally missed the point of what he's making. The thing is, yes, your body is used, okay, to give life to a baby, but the baby has a life of its own itself. Although your body is a mean through which God is using to create and reproduce another life. But that baby is a complete and whole human being in and of itself with its own genetics, with its own DNA, which is a good point that Crowder made here. If you were to compare that to giving blood to a different group of people, you don't own the person because you're giving them blood. So this is so good. This is so good.
Entirely new DNA formed, not your DNA, not the father's DNA. It's DNA of an entirely new human being that defines everything from eye color to height to male pattern baldness.
But it's still half my DNA. That went into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So then by that logic, as long as it's a portion of your DNA, it would be okay to abort a 9-month-old child, a 2-year-old child, because it's your DNA.
How can you abort a 2-year-old child?
Kill it.
It's not the same.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what you define as personhood and what gives you the right to terminate a life that isn't your own. You're saying because a portion of it is your DNA?
Consciousness, experience.
Okay, consciousness.
Yes.
Okay, so you believe what determines personhood is consciousness?
that child is not going to know anything.
I just want to make sure we understand here.
Yeah.
Let me allow you to, how do you define a person, a human being? What makes us people? What makes us human?
What makes us human? Well,
Yeah. What
human experience. Just like I said earlier, it's the experience.
Okay.
Totally not true. Not the experience. Our culture today is totally backward in their thinking, but I can tell it's not her fault. It's the indoctrination process. Poor thing. She doesn't even realize how she is so misled and deceived by these ideologies.
Okay.
We're all friggin' humans. We're all made up of the same kind of DNA. You look at you and you look at me. We're both human. Cool. But what makes us a person, personhood, is our own experiences.
Okay.
Nature versus nurture, all that, psychology.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if someone, let's say, has Alzheimer's, dementia, or someone is born with severe brain damage or doesn't have functioning limbs, they're not necessarily entirely conscious of the world around them. They're not able to develop relationships. Does that make them not a person, not a human being?
Yep. Good question. Good question. So, at what point exactly do we start defining life because they have not had an experience, or their inability to have a conscience, or they are not at a stage in their lives where they can think critically for themselves? Does that make their life insignificant or not worth living? I mean, it's not difficult, but I think these people have made it difficult. All right, let's keep going.
No. Okay.
Well, I'm going by the definition of consciousness. If someone is unconscious, do they cease to be a person? Can you kill them?
No.
Why not?
Because it's unconscious. It's not experience.
What if someone has never had any experiences? I've known people, I've worked with people with special needs who are not able to experience the outside world. Right, we use the term
But
autism is thrown in the spectrum.
Went day by day, experienced every hour, every minute.
Okay.
They experienced that.
Okay.
It's not just interpersonal things. It's not just, even if somebody wasn't able to experience the world, couldn't leave their home, they still experienced what it was like to eat, what it was like to drink, what it was like to, read a book, see the TV, look outside the window.
Experience pain.
Yes.
But I thought a baby can hear music from his mother's belly, experience what it's like to be fed through, to the umbilical cord. The baby also can feel the pain along with the mother. I thought a baby had, if you're talking about experience, a child has a lot of experience while they are yet unborn. So her logic is really bad. You see, the thing is, the idea of experience in itself is already wrong. But if we were to go with that, her entire logic is flawed, because we have so many more reasons to say, simply based on experience, then there's enough experience in an unborn child that makes them worthy of life.
Beating heart, hearing their mother's voice. Would these not count as human experiences?
Oh yeah, it does.
Okay, so then it's a human that you're killing. And you're okay with it.
Wow, what a change in perspective. You know what that means? She's waking up. I love it.
That hasn't had any experience.
We just agreed that those are experiences.
Yeah, but that child doesn't retain
it's
any of that.
Neither does a 1-year-old. Neither does a 2-month-old baby. So I'm trying to get to the point, when does it become okay to end a life? At what point is there enough retention of memory for it to be okay for you to kill that?
You're killing the most vulnerable species among us. The most vulnerable, most dependent one. The one that relies most likely on us and our decisions to live. These are the ones that we are aborting and obliterating from our society. And we call that pro-choice.
That other living being.
When it's not born.
When it's not born.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So now we're talking about location. A person ceases to be a person depending on location, inside or outside the womb. So it seems to me that you would support abortion up to 9 months.
If it was necessary, yeah.
No, not if it was.
Wow. That's bad. It's really bad.
necessary, going abortion up to 9 months.
If it was necessary, yeah.
No, not if it was necessary. Going by the definition of personhood according to your own logic.
Man, that's just semantics.
No, it's not.
No, it is not. No. This is logic. When they say, I hate when people start saying, because they've been using this as an excuse. I hate when people start saying it's just semantics. It's like, no, it's not semantics. It's just facts. And when they do this, they're hiding behind. It's like it's a good way to escape. It's like they're punching down in a way. But they know by them doing that, they can escape the truth. No, it's a fact. It has nothing to do with semantics here. We're talking about logics and facts for what they are.
Yeah, it is.
You just said you said up until it's born, it's not a person. So then what's the problem with aborting a baby up to 9 months then? Earlier you said that wouldn't be okay. It's not a person.
It depends on the situation.
How so?
Man.
No.
The thing is, why is it so hard for us as human beings to acknowledge that we are wrong? Why is it so hard? Especially when you know you are caught off guard. Especially when you know your argument is flawed. Especially when you feel like you've been exposed. Why is it so difficult sometimes for us to say, you know what? You made a good point. I didn't see it this way before. I'm going to think about this.
I'm curious. How so? Do you want me to explain my position? The only consistent line of logic to define what makes when a human being is formed is at conception, because that's when entirely new, unique DNA is formed. Mm-hmm. Consciousness isn't consistent, as we've gone through. Viability, as we went through with Andrew, is not a consistent trail of logic. And location. You don't cease to be a person if you're in that library or out of that library. You don't cease to be a person if you're in the womb or 7 inches outside.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I see your point, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to get an abortion if it was so necessary.
It certainly does. It certainly does. If we agree that that's a person, then you shouldn't be able to take the life of another person. You can never take the life of another person. You can wave your hand around as much as you want, right, with your own body, unless it hits me in the face.
Good point. I love me some Louder with Crowder. I'm wondering what's gonna happen when is he coming back? Is there another channel that he's on? I really want to know what's going on with Steven Crowder. This is the kind of logic, the kind of discussion I really enjoy, because this is how you address the mindset. This is how you bring about change. Now, it takes a little bit of time, some wisdom, and some patience, but it's the most effective way to bring about change.
You can't take the life of another human being.
Sure I can.
Okay, we disagree. I don't think you can kill another human being.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess I wasn't able to convince you.
No, I'm really, I'm compelled, but I don't understand your consistency of logic here. You said you were against 9-month-old abortions, but then you said, well, until it's born, it's not really a person. So now you just said you think it's okay to kill another human being as long as it's in the womb. You acknowledge it's a human being, and you think it's okay to kill it because you want to. That's not going to convince me. What would you present to convince me otherwise, I guess?
Well,
I'm done. I'm so done.
We talked about those extreme experiences that people have, the rape,
sure,
needing to do all those things. I guess if you were in my shoes and you were a broke college student who got raped and, was disowned by her family because they were super religious and they didn't accept that.
I like to editorialize.
I like when they do this. I like when they do this. But you notice they always take a little jab at the religious families because we want our sons and daughters to do the right things, as if being religious is always wrong. Boo. But here is the thing. The thing is the level of dishonesty that there is in this conversation that I have an issue with. Like, most of these young girls and young men, they refuse to be responsible and accountable for their own choice. Because a baby they don't just come about from thin air. Babies are born or here or procreated as a result of decisions you've made that had nothing to do with your parents, the government, the medical expert. These were choices you've made. And guess what? In this life, we all have made bad choices. But you cannot ask the system to change its entire law so that your bad choices could be sustained and provided for and accommodated when you are unwilling to change. It's like we are making laws to support people, bad choices of people, instead of making laws to say you need to make the right choices so you can benefit from the system. Do you understand? So we're flipping things around. We are saying make whatever decisions you want. The system needs to line up with you. That is not okay. Before you think about abortion, think about whom you sleep with. Think about that decision. There's contraception. There is obstinacy. There is being a Christian and wait till you get married. There are other options out there. There's lack of self-control that needs to be addressed. These are the discussion that needs to be had. But we ignore all of that. We're just going to talk about pro-choice and pro-life. All right, let's keep going.
Here, but yes, go on.
I'm just putting a story together.
Okay.
Then you would be okay with bringing that child into the world and not even being able to provide for it, not being able to give it any kind of health care. If that child got sick, it would die anyways because it wouldn't get, vaccines.
That's just such a poor argument. I know he's going to destroy her, but there's a whole system in place to do that. In the United States, these excuses don't work. Maybe in other parts of the world, I can understand, third world country and so on. But not over here. Most likely, if you're looking for help in this country, there's a whole system in place to help you out as a mother. And there are Christian places that will meet your need. So these are mothers who are talking, and I no wonder why it says brainless pro-choice claim right to murder. So I can understand why the title was in this way now.
What?
If that child...
It wouldn't get vaccines?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm confused.
Are
you asking me, would I be okay with you bringing that...
And you couldn't get vaccines because you might not be able to afford health care.
Yeah, I don't agree with the premise. So two things. First off, you bring up an extreme example to make a point. Sounds to me like you don't really care about rape or incest. You support abortion anyway, in the sense that it doesn't matter to you as it relates to abortion. So if I were to agree to, let's say, okay, in all cases of rape or incest, abortion for all, would you agree with all of the cases, no abortion?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
So if there were only an exception for rape and incest, you would agree that abortion in every other instance would be immoral and should be illegal?
No.
Okay, well then why bring it up? Now, as it relates to the story that you're painting here with religious parents who excommunicate you and don't help you because you've gotten pregnant and you've been raped.
Steven Crowder is too smart for her. He's too smart for me. I can't. Because she's like, no. Yeah. Oh, gosh. I'm lost. Yeah.
Raped. I think that's horrible.
Oh, it's horrible.
I do think that would be a horrible story, and my heart would go out to women like that. So
you would, if you were in that situation, and yes, it is an extreme, but to put you in that extreme, what would you do?
Well, I, of course, wouldn't abort the baby.
So what would you do then? After you've given birth to the baby, what would you do?
Yeah, I guess without abortion, what choices are present? I support 4 other choices: abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. In the case,
ladies, did you get that? Abstinence, contraception, motherhood, adoption. These are the replacers for abortion. Abstinence, in other words, stop giving it up. Contraception, use protection. Motherhood, step up, do what you need to do. Adoption, let somebody else take care of the child. Problem solved.
Case of rape, a very, very small, extreme example, as we both acknowledged, you have motherhood or adoption. I just don't support the choice that would involve killing a child. I think that's pretty consistent.
I think you have a good opinion.
I guess if you believe it's an opinion.
Yeah,
I think it's important to scientifically determine where a life begins, and I don't think that you've given that much thought. And I think that's the crux of all of this. Is obviously if we acknowledge that's a human life, but it seems as though you're just okay with terminating it. People who are looking to make headway with people who are pro-life, they would have to present some kind of an argument that would prove that this is not a human being, that it's not a person. But when you say it is a person, it is a human being, I don't care anyway, I have the right to kill another human being as you've presented, yeah, I'm not going to be on board, but I appreciate you sitting down.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and part of the discussions we were having was, if God spares our lives to see another 40 years, highly likely, I might be wrong though, we might be looking back, or maybe our children or grandchildren will look back and read our history books and say, Lord, daddy's or grandfather's generation, they were aborting their children in that generation. We were the generation who actually said there is no difference between male and female, that it is okay to kill a baby in the womb of their mother. What a historical account. I'm thinking about that. I'm like, man, that is a sad story to be read. It seems like generations tends to get worse anyway, so I don't see this ever become a reality. Because we're like, oh, slavery was bad. It's like, we abort out babies today. The Holocaust was bad. Excuse me, we are doing worse. We kill 1 million, we abort 1 million babies a year. And that's just from the black culture, black race itself. We're not even talking about others. So, what are you talking about? We're not that different after all. We are not that different after all. Humanity, no matter which way you look at it, we are full of flaws and issues and problems. And this is why going back to understanding what God says is so crucial. You should already know this was coming your way. Thou hast possessed my reign. Thou hast covered me in my mother's wound. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. I don't know there is no greater biblical passage that speaks in favor of pro-life than this right here, Psalm 31:39. It is just so deep. It's so deep. God says, in your mother's womb, He's covered you. He possessed your reins, and that is actually deep. The word reins here is so much. It implies character, DNA, life, everything. A person's entire future is in the reins right here. And He says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So this is how God sees babies in the womb. And Lottery Crowder did an excellent job with this one. I really appreciate their content. But you notice how he got her to change her mind? He just used basic logic, asked a lot of questions, and make her think from cause to effect and present a better side of the story. And there was no arguing. There was no disrespect. There was no cheap shots, barely. She was backed up in a corner. I don't know. What is your thought and perspective on this? Where do you stand when it comes to abortion? Do you think it's okay to do this? Do you think it's not okay? Let me know in a comment below. Make sure you like and subscribe to the page. I'm a YouTuber as well. Until next time, and as always, remember to look unto Jesus and to live by faith. Have a good one. Bye.